Chamirin Ma'hi, donkey drivers, what are they? The Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, Hachamirin Shayosin Malacha, the parish Shviyas, that donkey driver who brings, who does work with, he's bringing parish Shviyas, Schar and Shviyas, he gets reward from the Shviyas.
Okay, good. So you hit it perfectly. In other words, Schar and Shviyas, what does that mean? The Gemara is going to want to know what is Schar, because it's a very vague term. People, these guys who are involved. Now, what's critical, the only thing you got to remember from last Gemara, their essential malacha is parish Shviyas. In other words, it's not like the case where they're transporting, he's delivering a letter and you stack a couple of parish Shviyas on it. His job is to transport parish Shviyas, or parish in general, and you're giving him parish Shviyas to transport. Okay? So, Scharan, meaning literally...
Interesting distinction you just made?
What? It's the same thing from before.
Maybe he's not parish Shviyas, maybe his real task...
No. He's a fruit guy, and it's Shemitah year. So he's going to continue delivering fruits.
So it is still by definition.
Yes, it's his essential. That's what the Bryce is saying. Malacha osim malacha b'parish Shviyas, meaning his essential malacha is in parish Shviyas. Scharan, meaning schar. Now David's saying the safer reward, but his payment.
He's getting paid with parish Shviyas.
Well, we don't know yet. Shviyas. All right, schar and Shviyas. So now the Gemara says what? The Gemara asks.
My schar and Shviyas. What's the schar and Shviyas?
What does that mean? All right. Okay.
If you want to say that having those schar and me parish Shviyas, if you want to say that what's the having reward?
And maybe you want to say that what it means to say is schar mi parish Shviyas. Literally, his schar comes from
the parish.
Right, he gets paid with oranges. Stop. So if you want to tell me that you're paying the guy
with parish Shviyas,
with Paris himself, so if a bushel of 50 oranges, he takes 20. You got a problem.
That can't be.
The Torah says what?
You can't use the fruit to pay off for that.
Well, it says l'achla v'lo l'schara.
You can eat it and not
parish Shviyas. What's the usage of parish Shviyas for eating? And not for okay. This whole entire sugya is those three words, la'achla v'lo l'schara, because that you'll see is vague in of itself. But right now, underline that. But it's not. Schar means commerce. Okay, like merchandise, literally. But it means in this case commerce. So the fruits during the seventh year, or produce during the seventh year, is meant for eating and not for commerce. What's an example of commerce that they darshan straight out of that? Nimsa zeb parecho when we pay our shviyas. I'm paying off a debt that I owe you using these fruits. In other words, I hired you for a job, and how do I pay you? I owe you money now, right? We made a deal. You're going to take this Yerushalayim in exchange for 20 oranges. I owe you 20 oranges, so I'm using the parish shviyas to pay off a debt. Can't do that. It's a violation of achla v'lo schar. So schar and shviyas can't mean what? The fruits themselves. Okay, that's position number one. We really need the board, but that's position one. Okay, go on. What's position two?
The other is kiddush, schar and kiddush shviyas.
Oh, stop. So what's the other possibility? Schar and shviyas means that the money becomes demei shviyas. In other words, I pay you a salary, right? And the same way parish shviyas has certain, again, just to clarify, there are limitations of what you can do with parish shviyas. After you're done eating them, you can't throw them away. You have to wrap up the remnants in a paper towel, keep them like a pot, let them decompose, and then throw them away. Okay? So maybe you'll say that same idea of sanctity that applies to shviyas, these are lach of demei shviyas, that's what the money is treated as. The money that the laborer receives has to be treated as demei shviyas. So that's what schar and shviyas means. That's possibility number two.
But you don't get rid of money.
You have to use it for...
Schar shviyas is demei shviyas.
Correct. Right, that was very fast, but yes.
I don't know what you just said.
Kadosh.
And what's the kedusha?
That's one thing I always work on with guys. Read it like a Gemara. Umi kadosh, meaning what? Like, can you tell me that you're telling me that the money is really kadosh? That's ridiculous. Why? There's a brisa.
That if the guy goes and picks vegetables for that day, the schar is mutter.
Luckily, Larek. Bo hayom schar asa. Now, just remember yesterday. The Gemara says, why is it not the demei shviyas? Because simple. There are two cases.
Torah says?
No. That's not this possibility. This possibility is if I hire a guy, if I tell a guy, listen, here's $20, get me $20 worth of yarek. What happens to that money?
It's the demei shviyas.
Okay. Therefore, you have no problem. But what about the other case? If I hire a laborer, I'll record this part. If it means the demei shviyas, that means every situation that I hire a laborer and I pay him money to do work with parish shviyas, the money should therefore acquire the status of the Kedusha Shvius. But we see that's not true because there's an open case where.
Higher transactions.
Okay, but just to make sure, just one last time, okay? So the Gemara wants to offer two explanations for what Schar and Shvius means. The first explanation is Schar and Shvius means you hire a laborer and you actually pay him with the fruits themselves. The Gemara says that can't be because it's a violation of the Achla L'Schara. The second possibility is I hire a laborer in a normal way. I'm going to pay you $50 to go ahead and take my fruits to Yerushalayim. So the Gemara wants to believe that Schar and Shvius means the money I pay the laborer with would become Dmei Shvius. The Kedusha transfers. But halacha l'maisa, that's not true. The Brisa tells you if I hire a laborer, it doesn't transfer. So now we're back at square one. All right. So now what? Okay. So just method. Third to last line. Amar Abaye la'olam.
Abaye la'olam. You have been on nice car. We pair Shvius.
Oh, so Abaye decides. You know what? I'm going to rehash this argument. Really? Schar and Shvius means what? Literally, I'm paying the guy with fruits. Was Abaye not reading the Gemara? The Gemara then says, one second. Udika kasha lach la'achal l'schara.
So this is just a narrator talking.
Yes, yeah. This is the Gemara talking. The Gemara is talking to Abaye and saying, "What are you like?" Just look at one line before. It says la'achal l'schara. You can't use the same answer. So Abaye is a smart guy. He says, "No, yahiva nihalei b'tzad heter."
Well, the Gemara actually says look up.
No, but it's saying the kasha lach. Okay.
What does that mean?
It means, but don't you know about the kasha that it says la'achal l'schara?
If he actually just wasn't listening.
Right, so right, he was right. All right. So he says, so Abaye says, no, I have a way to work this out that where there is a payment of actual fruits, but mitzad heter, you wouldn't be violating the achal l'schara. So again, Abaye is going to introduce a way where there is a way to hire these donkey drivers to take the fruits to Yerushalayim, for example, to pay them, I'm putting that in massive air quotes, pay them with the actual oranges and not violate l'achal l'schara. How would you do that? Go on, David.
What did you say?
Let's see.
Kidatan. Says in the Mishnah.
It says in the Mishnah. Lo yamar adam l'chavero ha'ala. Don't say a person should say to his friend ha'ala li peros ha'ala li Yerushalayim, that he's going to bring fruits to Yerushalayim.
Lechalek.
The chalak, to divide them.
Okay, aval. I'll explain you what the case is in a second. Aval.
Omer lo ha'olam l'achlim l'ishtotam Yerushalayim, but rather he's going to eat them and drink them in Yerushalayim.
Right. The notes and zelazah, and they give to each other.
Eat to each other.
Matana shochinam. Okay, so Abaye is a shrewd way of escaping this problem. He used an example of Ma'aser Sheni. As a prelude, you do not need to know all the lachos of Ma'aser Sheni except for one thing. Lachos of Ma'aser Sheni is, it's got to be brought to Yerushalayim, and just like by Shemitah, you can't use Ma'aser Sheni to pay off a debt, okay? Sorry, just like by Shemitah, you can't use money to pay off fruits to pay off a debt. You can't do it by Ma'aser Sheni either. So what do they share in common, property-wise, characteristic? Can't use them to pay off a debt. So what's the case? The case is very simple. He says, let's take the case of Ma'aser Sheni. I tell Johnny, I'm hiring you to take my fruits to my Ma'aser Sheni fruits to Yerushalayim to redeem them, and I say, listen, take 20 of those oranges for yourself. Okay, that'll be a problem because that's parei chobo. I'm using Ma'aser Sheni fruits to pay off a debt. But how can you do it? I say to Johnny, listen, do me a favor. I'm hiring you, so to speak, to go up, take my fruits to Yerushalayim, and when you get there, I'll meet you there, and we'll split some of the fruits. I'll have like a picnic. Well, the Gemara
That would have been okay.
that would have been a problem.
Because the answer is that I thought the answer is that
like
it
this.
is.
The Gemara's Hamina is like this. The Gemara Hamina is that you would think that even if I use the
Tell me what it
system,
actually says too.
no, you just listen. You would think that if I use the system of matana, okay, that if I tell Yaakov take my fruits to Yerushalayim and we're gonna have a picnic, even that's a problem. Even that's a problem of the achla v'skara.
Where does it say that?
Because I just said the Gemara knows the future, so it can't be the Gemara was
Tell me how
blindsided.
you got to this thought. I'm not getting it.
Simple logically, because if the Gemara printed, if it made it to the Gemara to say matana shalchinam, the Gemara. There's no surprises for the Gemara, so it must have known matana shalchinam. It always knows matana
What did it
shalchinam.
say? But in the words about Matana Shalchinam,
It doesn't. It was like this.
it says Matana Shalchinam. What does it say?
It says that's the answer. In other words, you would have thought that matana shalchinam is a problem of l'achal l'schara. K'mashalan, the matana shalchinam is not a problem of l'achal l'schara. That's what you have to define. What does the achal l'schara mean? It could mean A, and therefore matana shalchinam is included, or it could mean B, and therefore matana shel chinam is excluded. If Rava holds that Dmei Shvius isn't a problem, 1 second, udika kashalach, poel. Now here's another bad answer. Okay, here we go. Bad answer number 2.
Oh, banners.
Yeah, not such a fun answer either.
Poel v'lo nefesh agriai lo kinsuhu.
Okay, so a worker that you hire for a small amount of money, nafesh agri, he doesn't need that much. A day laborer, I hire a guy to come pick the vegetables in my field. How much am I going to pay the guy? $50, let's say, right?
Minimum wage, you saying?
Minimum wage. That's a minimum wage job. In the minimum wage job, okay, the Dmei Shvius, which is a knas, okay. Remember, Dmei Shvius is a knas. What does knas mean?
Fine.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by fine?
I have no idea.
You pay the guy with the fruits.
No. Why is the Dmei Shvius a knas? What does it mean? Really, there's nothing in the money that should be a problem. But the Torah doesn't want, the Rabbanan don't want you to get too comfortable using Peirush Shvius for commerce. So they make the money restricted. So what the Gemara is saying is that, what Rav is saying is that, 1 second, I'll tell you what the differences in the two cases are. If I hire a guy and I'm paying a minimum wage, does the money acquire Dmei Shvius? No.
No, because it's a small amount. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. But Chamara and Dinafesh Agrayu, but by the donkey drivers who seem to command a very large salary, they get paid big time bucks, okay, a lot of money. The Gemara says, Kansura Bana Bahu. Okay? That's what I have to know from the Gemara. Right? So what's Rava's answer? Rava's answer, maybe that's easy to understand. Rava's answer is very simple on the surface. Rava's answer is, 1 second, 2 different situations. Dmei Shvius is only a problem when
it's a large amount?
when you're paying the guy $500.
Why is I guess you use the word, why is it a quantitative thing?
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, and we don't know what the shear is, by the way. We don't know what the actual quantity is. Okay? But don't worry about that.
It is.
It doesn't matter. But you're right. You're asking the right question. What's the Havamina? What's the assumption of the Gemara, though?
It's an all amount.
Yeah.
What?
It's an all amount.
Right, which should make a difference. There's no difference in 50, what's the difference, right? Kamashwan, there's a difference. That's the second thing to define. Okay? So through all this struggle through the Gemara, which these are the kind of Gemaras that are very frustrating, because you have to really dig through the facts. What are we left with? Okay, now that's all the dust is settled. We're left with the following.
When
Okay?
you say how many you ask,
Just to give you guys a sense of why this is so critical, the two ideas that we're going to work out on Abaye and Rava are the underpinnings or the foundation of the entire institution of commerce, of what the issues are about Shemitah fruit for all Peirush Shvius. All right, so
You better not screw this up.
that's right. You need this to understand TOS
I'm
first.
saying, so how did the halachas go in?
Right, Svarland. Okay, so the Gemara says the Gemara doesn't know what Schar and Shvius means. Right, it doesn't know what it means. Right, better focus.
No, it's sorry.
Right,
It's no scars.
Schar and Shvius. What does that mean? What does Schar and Shvius mean? So the Gemara has two possibilities. Either Schar and Shvius means you're paying the guy with the oranges themselves. Okay, that's one possibility.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's the other possibility? The money that you pay him with becomes Dmei Shvius. Those are the two possibilities.
I did like.
Gemara rejects Peirush Shvius because that would be a violation of the Achla v'lo l'schara, meaning to eat and not for commerce, and you're paying off a debt, which is an action of commerce. Okay, the Gemara rejects.
So it means kedusha, and therefore its use is limited.
Yes.
Right. So if you're going to tell me that, the other possibility is that
And
it's.
the answer we had. Sorry, I'm trying to see the whole thing.
So again, Schar and Shvius can't mean Dmei Shvius because we see if I hire a laborer for normal malacha and I pay him with money, it doesn't become Dmei Shvius.
Well, when we normal
To collect the vegetables in my field, okay, my shvita vegetables, okay, that's not a problem. Oh, now, what does the Gemara now do? Abaye and Rava come up with their possibilities. Abaye says it is paying him with fruits, but how are you paying? How are you paying him? Matana chinam. You're giving him a present of fruits. Here you go, fruits for you. We're going to share them in Yerushalayim. Okay. Rava says it is a case of Dmei Shvius. How is it a case of Dmei Shvius? Because when you hire a laborer to pick vegetables, how much are you paying him?
Who says this? Rava says.
Rava
says it is the Shvius.
Right. Why? But what about the kasha that in one case it becomes Dmei Shvius? Doesn't come Dmei Shvius?
Oh no! See how we get that kasha? Where's that kasha?
Havmina by Abaye is
What? Why the heck does he think that works?
That's a good question.
I mean, is that's the question.
Okay, that's the obvious question.
How does he start
The obvious question that you're going to ask is, well, 1 second. Come on, Matana Shochinam. That sounds a little sneaky.
Come on, that's lame, bro.
Right. But the other question you have to ask is the question I'm asking, which is that the Gemara knows Matana Shochinam is the answer. So the Gemara had to think that la'achla.
See, hold on. See, I don't get this in front of you.
La'achla, the having of the Gemara is, you would think la'achla schar means what? It means its function can only be ochal and nothing to do with commerce whatsoever. I mean, you can't engage in any other normative function other than to eat.
What about like to use an orm?
It means I'm taking the definition of ochal, removing it, and replacing it with schara. There's only one other thing the food could be used for, and that's schara. But if I use it as an air freshener, have I redefined it as something other than ochal?
It doesn't have the same score.
The pasuk means the Abayi's chiddush, and the maskana of the Gemara is it's not that it's only l'ochal and it's to the exclusion of the category schara. It just said I can't use peir shvius for schara. What's schara?
Actual transaction.
A transaction. A matana is not schara. So that means that. So I'll put it in a lame. Not that you guys are layman, but like in layman's way. How do you read the pasuk? Is it la'achla v'lo l'schara, or is it la'achla v'lo l'schara? You understand?
Yeah.
That tonal inference can make the whole difference in how you read the pasuk.
It's the latter.
Exactly. The case is like this. The svara is as I think. The svara is as follows. The Gemara's havamina was. Well, I can't be for sure, but you'll see it does fit into TOS perfectly. But I mean, the Gemara's havamina is that. Just listen. Do this one more time. The Gemara's havamina. Do you want me to do it? Okay. The Gemara's havamina is what? The Gemara's havamina is that when you see la'achal v'schara, what does it mean? It means that you can only use these fruits for achila, right? And in using them for achila, that means they have one primary usage, but you can't use them for their other usage, which is schara. In no way, shape, or form can they be used for anything other than fruit. But the normative usage outside of fruit would be schara, right? So they're not defining what schara is. Schara is a general thing, meaning any type of usage, normative usage outside of achila is a problem. Kamashal, then no, it's la'achla, right? V'lo l'schora. You can't redesignate, you can't use the fruits for some transactive purpose. But matana chinam is not a transaction. I'm just giving it to you. It's not a transaction. So the question is, what's the emphasis of the pasuk?
What's the transaction? How's it?
Money's exchanged. There's some sort of monetary exchange. Or paying off a debt. I'm giving you peor shvius, right, to pay off a debt. That's a financial or some sort of transaction. But if I give you something for a matana, it's not a transaction.
So you define score.
I was dealing with the mei shvius, right? What's the issue? So you would have thought that any type of salary would create the mei shvius.
Right.
All of a sudden, he comes along and says, "No, Rabbanan were only knasing large transactions, not small ones." Why? What's that idea? The main point here to understand is that there's two main ideas the Gemara is bringing down. One is that one chiddush is that the fruits can't be used primarily for schara. In other words, they can't be schara v'lo l'achla, or l'achla l'schara, meaning that it can't be a transactive process. And number two, within the nature of schara, there are different types of schara. So what the Gemara is saying is that the type of the knas of the mei shvius only applies to a commercial activity of schara. Now Johnny's asking, why is it limited to that case? Why? That's a good question. All right, we're going to answer that soon. Okay, is that clear? So Salachis Damanav Tosos. That's the second last Tosos. It says Nimsa Zeh Parei Chovim Perish Vias. What?
Nimsa. Oh, sorry. Omer Rabbeinu Yitzchak Dehaskora Shehi Asura B'Perish Shvius. That it really says that commerce is forbidden by Perish
No,
Shvius.
Dehaskora. Which kind of commerce, right, is forbidden? Mipish Perish Vias that you can't do with fruits. Hainu. It is.
It is Hainu Liknos Harbe. V'yachar Leholik Unkom Hazol L'Makom. It's
Hayoker.
Hayoker.
Oh, okay. So now we're gonna have some fun. Okay. Tozo says, what does it mean? What does it mean to be doing schora that's aser schora with perish vias? Where a guy comes along and what does he do? He purchases what?
Bulk.
He buys it in bulk.
To go somewhere.
And then he goes.
south.
He goes
Right, but
place to
so
place.
let's isolate the both factors. No, that's the other factor. In other words, there's two things here. He's buying bulk, right? That's one. And what else is he doing?
Somewhere
Somewhere
else.
Right, but when he buys bulk is always what?
Commercial.
Cheaper. Well, you're already thinking ahead. But wholesale. Let's do the classic case.
Costco.
We're going to. Costco. Okay, what does the guy do? where's schora problem? So Tosfos wants to give you the paradigm case of schora is a guy buys a wholesale quantity. Wholesale means bulk for cheaper. To do what? To sell it somewhere else for a profit. So I go ahead and I buy 1,000 oranges.
Does that imply that if you're not selling it for a profit?
I
don't know why you would.
It would seem to imply that. It would seem to imply that you need both of these factors. Bulk for the purpose of profit. Bulk for profit. Okay? But Johnny, one second. Let's be consistent though. Okay? It's so funny you chose that case. What about the other case? Come on, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You isolated one factor. There's two factors. You chose one to remove. Now, replace that.
You bought small quantities to...
Close. Well, okay, fine. Let's say I bought a small quantity to sell for a profit. Is that a problem? At this point, doesn't seem like it's a problem. Meaning that if I happen to... Now, let's forget buying small quantity. Let's say I have 20 of my own oranges. Is it a problem selling it for profit? At this point? Doesn't seem like it, right? Selling a small amount of fruits does not seem to be for a profit. Does not seem to be a problem. What's the problem? The problem is bulk amounts for profit. That's where it becomes a problem. Okay. So if a guy was
Or they're bulk amounts for charity.
so there's two. Okay, I know there's not a class in economics, but I'm saying there's three people involved here, right? There's the original the farmer selling the fruits wholesale. The guy buying wholesale who sells to the retail, and then what about the retail guy selling to the consumer and the consumer himself? I'm telling you, four steps here, right? Economics, right? Farmer to wholesaler, wholesaler to retail, retail to consumer. What is TOS focusing on?
The wholesale.
The wholesale to retail guy.
Yeah.
Why? Why is he focusing? Why is he focusing on that guy?
Is this specifically from a farmer?
Well,
We can't be talking about the reseller.
That's the only step where it's done specifically in bulk.
Yes.
Right, but you could conceive of another bulk situation. I mean, it could be from wholesale to wholesale.
That's not.
He's the middleman.
He's the middleman, okay?
It sells a retailer.
Right, but there's a reason why Tosfos is saying that the middleman's the key. Let's go a little further. Okay, stop. Okay, so now this is the point we're going to focus on today. So Tosfos says, first of all, Tosfos says, "Kamosha you osun osvei shvius shepsul neidus." Now, who are the osvei shvius? Because you don't have that Gemara in front of you. You weren't here last year. We did it. David Center, you should know what osvei shvius are. So there's two situations where it's considered schora. One is a guy buys wholesale to sell retail for a profit, and the second one is the case we had before, which is where I use the fruit to do what? Parei achova, to pay off my debt. Okay? So what's Tosfos telling you? What's the svara here? What's the chiddush of the case? What's the paradigm of schora? The guy who buys bulk wholesale and sells it to the other guy for a profit. Why is that the paradigm of schora? Is the lav le'achla karina bay. Remember la'achla? What's Tosfos searching for?
I thought Tosfos we were saying all along though that it's purpose was
No.
We were dancing a little too much. We didn't say the exact nakuda.
Let's get.
I'm not like you. I'm not like so fixated on the words. Just like,
semantics.
Semantics,
right.
Yeah.
But it's actually my problem. That's why you didn't like.
Let's get this is the point I want to get across. Okay. In other words, when Tosfos says lo la'achla karina bay or lav la'achla karina bay, what does that mean? It means that in order to be the paradigm of schora, what it must mean is that I am removing from. Now, this is an abstract idea. It's not a reality. It's always an apple. And that's why I went back. This is why going back before I said there's two categories of fruit of how you relate to food. What you're doing is you're removing any chalos or any status of food in the object. What do I mean? If a guy comes along,
he's not relating it to any sort of 1%, 99%.
As what?
0 and 100.
As food.
As
meaning food for ochel.
Anything else?
Right.
1%.
What is it? Now give me the 21st century term. What is it then? It's not food. It's a
money making object.
Okay. Yes. It's a commodity. It's okay. You're commoditizing. Someone said this wasn't a word, but it is. You're commoditizing the ochel. You're commoditizing the apples. That's the problem. Why does Tosos pick this case? Because think about it. What are you doing?
Change the factor.
You're buying bulk. You're buying bulk to sell at a profit.
It's like how a guy's if a guy buys a billionaire
It can't be Lucius Spears anymore.
So
So
let me finish.
Steve Ballmer just bought the Clippers for $2 billion.
Yes.
So his net worth didn't go down because he just transferred his $2 billion to the team.
Okay.
But if he spent $2 billion on like lollipops,
Right.
then he would lose the net worth because and again, assuming he isn't doing to sell it,
Correct.
but because he lost that, it's not a commodity.
It's
Right.
what's it called? Sunk-
Exactly.
sunk cost.
Right,
It's a whole lot of
exactly.
sunk cost.
So that's why Tosos. But
why is
no, but
Tosos-
why is no,
It's
why,
not
just,
easy.
why is this the paradigm case? Why does Tosos not deal with the shopkeeper himself? Because think about it. In the transaction, what have I done?
Just link it back as much.
No, listen. What have I done in the transaction? All I've done so far is very simple.
You've removed
I bought to do what?
So,
To sell. I bought to sell, right? And since I'm using bulk, what is it clear that I'm doing? It's not just buy. There's why do you have to have both factors? Because if it was just to buy to sell, but 1 second, I can that.
like you could eat it.
Right, exactly. But if you do a bulk, and then you mentioned Nicker before.
It's like-
There's
almost
a
like it's-
physical expression of your intent.
Clearly.
Right, exactly.
It's almost like if you were to eat some, it'd almost be embezzlement from your own.
Exactly. I commoditized the fruit. It's no longer
You said some good categories, then you dance. Why is
no
it
dance.
not?
I'm still here.
No, you,
I'm sitting.
No, you.
No, I'll put it even more I wish I knew gangster terms. More simple terms. In other words, one of them is one of them.
Gangsters or something.
No, one of them is the beginning of the process of removing the chalos ochel, but you haven't done it yet. The way you remove the chalos ochel is the sale. But if you just did a little sale of something small, right? There's nothing in the. Let's say I bought fruit to sell a little bit of fruit.
Right. Yeah.
That's not a commodity. You're not.
It
has been defined.
I don't think.
I'm going to define it more. Okay. One second. One last point. What about Porei Chovo? What about paying off a debt? That's the other paradigm. Okay? A little bit of a different.
Is that a problem? Or?
It's also a problem.
Okay.
I can't use Peor Shvius to pay off a debt. If I owe you money, I can't say, you know what, instead of giving you $20, I'm going to give you oranges. Why not? Why not? It's got to fit in the same idea.
Because that's also you're not treating it as food.
Oh, but why is it different than the first case?
I never bought bulk.
What? There's no bulk?
Never bulk, so he never had the prior intent.
There's no.
Although he is commoditizing it per se,
Well, okay,
I would argue he really isn't
Yeah.
commoditizing it, because in order to commoditize it, he first had to have bought it in bulk. It's like the commoditizing is similar to yesterday.
In the first case, okay, my actions do what? In other words, right now when I buy the bulk, have I stripped the definition of ochel from the fruit?
Not yet.
Right? No. And once when I sell it, what ends up happening? Through the sale,
Do the sale.
right? So that means what I'm doing is I'm going to use like descriptive terms. I'm like something external is coming in and now applying the status to the thing. But when if I use fruits to pay off a debt, like Johnny said, but I'm saying a little different. Intrinsically, in the thing itself, it was never had a chalos ochel. In the very thing itself, I'm using it for debt payment, not for ochel. It's in the very thing. The very object itself has the quality now of debt payment, not of ochel. It's in the very thing itself. By the case of, that's why Tosos has both cases.
That bottom line is always a money transaction. Why, I don't.
No, you're right. No, listen. You're right.
It's just
You're
another
right.
form of mammon.
Exactly.
not
It's not food, but that's in the very.
Well, the other thing wasn't food either.
No,
Money.
that's not
Making money.
true. You have to go through the process, though. In other words, he buys a bulk, and then
So it's something about the nature of debt. The nature of debt is now labeled this apple a debt payer and not an apple.
the nature of debt is that if I'm using fruit to pay debt, the fruit itself is. Johnny's right. It's mammon in and of itself. But you can't say by buying bulk fruits. You need bulk fruits plus sale, right, to make it stripping away the chalos ochel. That's not intrinsic. Intrinsic means that it's part of the very definition of the thing. When I say to you, listen, I'm giving you $20 of fruits to pay off a
Because
debt,
it needed a plus.
that is now
Because it needed a
mammon.
plus, you can't say it's in of itself. But here's my question: when